Welcome to Trustee Talk. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dick Murgatroyd, and our guest today is Josh Gerth, who is our first Vice President of the Anderson Township Trustees. We finished the year of 2015 with you, and now we're beginning 2016. That's a good sign.
I'm glad to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Good to see you. Happy New Year to you. Yeah. You have a good one?
We did.
Good.
Yeah, nice holiday.
Went fast.
It always does.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Lots to talk about today. We want to talk about, I think, first of all, maybe talk a little bit about the fact that Russ Jackson retired from many years. I mean, how many years did he serve?
He was here for 20.
Was it 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah. He is moved on from the trustee board.
Yeah.
As you know, an election does that sometimes.
It does do that.
So, he's been, Russ is a great friend. He's been a great mentor. He's a great trustee, and he is going to be missed, no doubt about it.
Well, I always, in the short time I knew Russ, he always seemed to be someone who really cared, who really was sincere about what he was doing, and served this community, I think, very well. I think the community was always the first thing on his mind, and he made a difference. He made a tremendous difference in those 20 years. So. And there's a time, I guess, when that comes to an end. But had a good run, and so now it's your turn to. 20 years from now, we'll be saying about you.
No. You know what?
I'll be 100 years old, but.
Well, we'll still be doing Trustee Talk then. He was great. I mean, he had a great run. That's a great way of putting it. I mean, and he was instrumental in a lot of the things that are taking place, that have taken place, and are taking place today in Anderson. And so. But I think like a lot of things, change is inevitable.
Oh yeah,
and so
it is.
we will miss him, but I think we are looking forward to working with Dee, and she has been a very much part of this community. She's executive director of the Forest Hills Foundation, and as you know, the school district plays a huge role in our township.
Absolutely.
So Dee's very well connected, knows a lot of people, and I think it's going to be great. I think I don't anticipate any problems and any issues between the three of us working together, and so I think, Russ will absolutely be missed, but, things move on.
Well, it does, and I'm sure she'll be a good addition, because, as you said, she's got a history here in this area also, so she understands it, and Dee Stone, that's
yes.
Right, her last name. So, I mean, I think it will be good, and you're right, I think sometimes change is always, there's something good about that too, so. I think the good thing with you all, with three of you, it's a lot easier to sort of get along. I think when you have a larger group of people, there tends to be a lot of agendas going, bouncing around.
Yeah.
Sometimes gets a little hard to get consensus. So
that definitely can happen.
So I think that's a good thing. And you are easy to get along with, as far as I can tell, and so I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And so we'll have her on. I think she's due on in a couple of months.
Good.
So we'll get a chance to meet her and talk to her a little bit further. But
I think she's drinking from the water hose right now, Water Canyon. There's a
I
lot of
can imagine.
information
That
gets thrown at you when you come on board. So.
Well, and there's a lot going on right now. You all have a lot of really active projects that are happening. So I mean, that's a lot to try to take on. Well, we'll look forward to meeting her and having her on. But we're glad you're here today. You and I have talked about in the past a lot about Beach Acres, and in fact, the last show we did, I think we talked a little bit about Beach Acres. Did you do an article or something in Cincinnati.com?
There was recently, just last week, there was an article, kind of an update. The school district earlier this month made the decision to more or less move on with the renovation project at Anderson High School, which pretty much puts an end to the discussion about moving Anderson High School to Beach Acres. And I mean, again, we could sit here probably for an hour and I could talk about, how all of this has transpired over the last year. But the school district and the township and the park district, we vetted it, we looked at it. and we just simply couldn't get the answers to the questions that we had, particularly related to the financing and some of the very important aspects of that plan. And whereas a private developer and a private individual might be able to assume some of those risks, we just can't. And you mentioned getting getting a consensus. I mean, we had 13 individuals representing 3 different boards, and we had to make sure that if we were going to move forward with this plan, that it was about as solid as a plan can be. And we just unfortunately never got there, and the school district has to move on. They've got a project, they've got a very big project that they have to undertake, and time is money on that deal. They have to move forward, and we simply don't have the time to wait. But I think there's some good things that came out of it. We all have worked extremely well together in the last year in the best interest of the township. And so even though this particular idea hasn't panned out, I think there'll be others down the road. And I think it's a good working relationship that we've established between all 3 boards.
So where will it go now? It's not a dead issue. It's not a dead project yet, I guess, if I understand it correctly. It's just that the school is not going to be.
No, so what is still going on, and another positive that came out of this is that the township is still pursuing the purchase of the Beach Acres property. Right. We're working through that contract now, and presumably if we get everything squared away, the township will own Beach Acres, or the remaining part of the Beach Acres property. And that does include the recreational complex that the Park District currently leases and uses. And it's our intent, and it's always been our intent, that will remain part of the Beach Acres property. Now, I guess there is some chance that that building itself gets remodeled or expanded, or perhaps an opportunity may arise that it could be moved somewhere else within the township. But we understand that that's an integral part of the township. It's an important part of what the Park District does, and so we've always maintained that will be part of it. What happens with the rest of Beach Acres is really up in the air, and I think we're going to spend some quality time working with the township, the park, the residents, and fully vet what is the highest and best use for the majority of that land that benefits the township and all the residents.
Well, it's a really central piece of property too, when you think for the township, just because its access is so easy for most of the township to get to, and
right.
So I mean, it really has. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of different things you can look at for that particular area, but
and I'm sure we will look at all of them.
Well, yeah, I think you want to make sure what you do with it is going to be something that's going to be beneficial in the long run. So,
right.
So, but at least something. It's still not. It's still got a possibility of something happening.
I have no doubt something. Assuming we get it under contract and actually close on the property, I have no doubt something positive will come to this township.
Good deal. That's good. I understand also there's some activity going on with Newtown and Anderson as far as fire collaboration is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, this is another great example of, collaboration. We are neighbors to Newtown. We've been, basically next to them for however many years, and there's been an ongoing talk about how we work together. And an opportunity arose last year where Newtown was considering breaking off of the Little Miami Joint Fire District. We took it as an opportunity to talk about the idea that maybe we would partner with them and help them by basically having our fire department, our EMS department, run for Newtown as well. And again, it was basically just a conversation. It's not unlike when I first was elected and went to Newtown and said, hey guys, I'm new. I know we've had some issues with annexation, some other things in the past, but we're neighbors, and if we can work together, great. And I think there's been a changing of the guard, if you will. There's a new mayor down there, and I think with new blood, with new personalities, comes new opportunities, and that's exactly what has happened here. And so this is going to be a great thing. We started service. We moved into the Newtown Fire Station and started on January 1. The transition has gone phenomenal. The cost to both communities will be less. Anderson won't have to invest in their Broadwell station, which was going to cost upwards of $4 million to renovate and redo that station. The stations, that station and the station at Newtown, were basically 2 miles apart. So we now have better coverage for both Newtown and Anderson in a more efficient manner. So, I mean, just a lot of great synergies that have come together with this merger at Newtown.
Well, I think every community, too, needs to look at ways in which you can merge some of those kinds of services, only because, especially fire services, are extremely expensive for any community, just because of the equipment costs and being able to provide that service. It becomes more expensive as time goes on. So if the two of you can come together and share that cost, it's got to help them.
Absolutely. Well, and their fire station and our fire station on Broadwell combined ran, I think the number is somewhere around 400 or 500 runs a year combined with the two stations, whereas our station up on Beachmont Avenue runs over 1,300 or some, more than twice the amount. So, I mean, there was absolutely, no reason not to look at combining two stations that were that close that can provide just as good of, if not better, coverage of both communities.
Well, and that's important, I think, just from the state. I know we talk a lot about safety, and that's one of the functions you all have, is to be concerned with the safety of the community and the citizens of the community. So just one more service that you provide that really does provide that kind of guarantee that you can do a better job. Yeah. Now, do they run EMT and everything out of both of those?
They do, and I don't know if any of the residents have ever been down to that station. It used to be the old Ohio E-Check when we had that whole ridiculous E-Check thing going on, and they built all these wonderful new buildings for that program. The fire department, Little Miami, bought that building and turned it, actually expanded it into the fire station. It's a very, very nice station. So our Broadwell station was 2,000 square feet. This one's 14,000 square feet.
Oh my gosh.
It's got a community meeting space in it, so Newtown will still use that. We will obviously use that. It's just a much better atmosphere as well.
Good.
And it's an integral part of Newtown. It's right down in the middle of town, and it's an important part of their landscape down there.
Well, but it's even better, and you don't have to really invest in any facility, which is a big factor there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. Good news.
So we have their name on our trucks, and it's a new station. It's station, I'm going to get this. I think it's station 22 is the new number. So it's great. So far, working out great.
Good deal. Good job. Yeah. That took a while, but it got there.
I mean, it's one of those things that you just keep asking questions, and when it works out, it works out.
Well, again, I think that's always tough when you try to put those kind of services together. I think there's a tendency to, some people hate to let go of something like that they kind of identifies their community. So I think
it's always change is tough, and there was some tough things, some people concerned about this change, but I think if you look at it from the standpoint of what is the benefit for the greater good of both communities, you can't argue that this was a phenomenal move.
Yeah, well, good. Congratulations.
Sure, thanks.
You're making headway there.
We're trying.
Your little visits, see what you produced out of that. You just
Yeah, well, I'm not taking the credit, but it is a great move.
It is a good move. I know you want to talk a little bit about the Belle Terre backflow project that's going on. Tell us about that?
That's one of those things that a lot of people never hear about. Belle Terre, as you know, is our casino partner down on Kellogg. One of the things they discovered when they moved in was that Kellogg Road always tended to flood. Even before the Ohio River got to flood stage, what would happen is the river would back up and would spill out onto Kellogg. And so even if it wasn't 52 feet or whatever the flood stage is, Kellogg would shut down at close to that, and you couldn't get through there. Traffic, you got the cleanup mess, it was always a hassle. Well, Belle Terre invested over $500,000 of their own money to install and upgrade these backflow systems down there. And, they finished the project last year. They had to work with Riverbend and the other partners, businesses down there. We had our first test just a couple weeks ago. Yeah. The river got close to flood stage. Kellogg stayed open the entire time. So it's a great success. And it's one of those things that people, don't really think about.
No.
But here's a partner like Belle Terre who's made a huge investment in our community, who went above and beyond that investment to do something that obviously benefits them because more people can get to their place. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, we know that's part of their reason, if not the reason they did it. But it's also money we didn't have to spend. Taxpayers didn't have to spend that. And now Kellogg will remain open on days that, where it would be closed for days, maybe even a week at a time.
Oh yeah, because for years and years that's always been a problem down
Sure.
there, but nobody really had to, I guess, took the initiative to try to fix it, because it is an expensive. You start trying to do that, it's a fairly expensive commitment. Belle Terre, while we're talking about Belle Terre, I guess, anything on the books for 2016 as far as continued advancement down there and development?
On the riverfront itself, we've had a couple of developers come to the township and talk about doing things down on the riverfront. We don't have anything solid. We don't have a plan per se that anyone has shown us, but there continues to be a lot of interest down there. The township owns the old Boatsmith property, which is right at the end of 5 Mile in Kellogg. That, we plan to make that somewhat of a public landing, public launch. I'm not sure it'll ever be a full marina, but to the extent that the public will eventually be able to use that is kind of our goal. And then starting from there, moving west down past Belle Terre, Coney Island's obviously a huge benefit to this community.
Yes,
they're making a lot of investments in their facility right now. They're going to open up a brand new attraction next year and spending a bunch of money and effort to do that. So they're constantly upgrading. Belle Terre, you never know. I mean, they have talked about expanding and doing different things down there, and I think as they continue to get more and more patrons, that sky's the limit for them.
Well, and I think more and more people are finding it. I mean, I think I hear more and more people talk about it. In fact, a lady that works for us, they were down there and enjoyed the buffet that they have down there, and she raved about that. She said they have
great food.
It was terrific, and so the restaurants are, just to go eat even if you don't want to participate in the racing, it's still just a good place to take a family. And
they do a great job.
Yeah.
So the food, the sports bar, and all of that, all the amenities down there, in addition to the horse racing and the gambling floor. I mean, it really is an entertainment venue. It's nice.
Well, and it's in a great spot because you've got the benefit of the river bend and what happens down there all summer long anyway. Right. So when you put all that together, you've got a great entertainment center.
You do. And I think more and more people will look at that entertainment avenue, if you want to call it that, as a place where development will take place in the future. And whether it's residential or more retail or some other product, I think it's just a matter of time.
Well, I think so too, because they talked at one time about a hotel, did they not?
They did.
As a possibility. So
yeah, and I mean, I'd still love to see a nice hotel in Anderson Township. We do not have one, and I think it's high time we do, and so we're still hopeful that that's going to come to fruition.
Well, and that'd be a perfect spot.
I think it would.
If somebody for a weekend to come and enjoy the Belle Terre, and if there's a show or something at Riverbend, and Coney Island, like you said, is still a popular place for people to go. I mean, for as long as that place has been there, people still go to that pool.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, in the summer. I mean, that's just a place where people just have been going for a long time. Yeah. And they still go there. So lots going on there. So
yeah, Riverfront's definitely a plus for us.
Well, the other plus you have, of course, is all the activity going on in the center here at Anderson around Beachmont and 5 Mile. I mean, because the Kmart is gone.
Kmart's
and
gone.
New construction is underway, and so we're seeing lots of activity in that whole area where Kroger's is going, and that whole part has been pretty much cleared off. So what's the update on that?
There is a tremendous amount of activity going on in the center of Anderson. So Beachmont and 5 Mile, if you just go a half a mile in either direction, there is about $160 million worth of projects going on right now. And we are just at the front end of all of these projects kicking off. So if you start at the actual intersection, we've got the continuous flow intersection, which will start back up in March with the construction of that. And that's basically the idea is you will exit to turn left onto Beachmont, no matter which direction you're traveling in on 5 Mile. From there, you've got Mercy Anderson, who's doing a very large patient tower expansion. Yeah. That's going to be great because Mercy is recognized as a top hospital in the country, and I think their facility is finally getting updated to reflect that. So that's a huge project. The Kmart you mentioned, that will be the site for the new movie theater. There is also a brand new fitness center going in there, as well as some other retailers that are looking at the Anderson Town Center. We will also be welcoming Hills Development, who will be building about 160 brand new luxury apartments on the old movie theater site, just up the hill from where we are here at the Anderson Center. You've got Kroger, of course Kroger, our biggest social scene in Anderson Township.
Yeah.
They're expanding by 50,000 feet. It will be the world's largest Kroger when it's done. Probably for about 2 weeks until they build another one somewhere. But it will be the biggest, and that'll take about a year. That will include obviously the new store, expanded store, but also an out parcel that they have that we hope will be a nicer sit-down restaurant and a little more retail. And then you've got a brand new medical office building going in behind McDonald's. That's about a $20 million project as well. And that'll have doctor's offices on the first floor, and then the second floor is actually open right now, 20,000 feet for lease. So we finally have some new office product in Anderson Township. So just in that little intersection, not little, but there is a lot going on. So my advice to people is basically stay away from Beach Mountain 5 Mile for 2 years until it's all done. It is going to be a mess. I mean, it's going to be a mess.
It is.
But it's also good that it's happening all at the same time, so we're not dragging this out over 5 to 7 years. This will be a 2-year headache for some people traveling through there.
It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it, absolutely. It'll completely change the landscape.
Yeah, that intersection has always been a kind of a nightmare intersection anyway. So I mean, it will eventually, but it will be a worse nightmare during the time that they're trying to figure it out.
It will be. I'm sure we'll get any complaints we get. We're just going to send them to D.
There you go. Why not? She'll take it. She'll enjoy it.
Then that's what the new person gets.
It's. When you look at all of Beach Mountain, we talk about this a lot, but there's just been so much happening. Always is something happening with new companies, new businesses coming in, and some of the businesses that have been there are kind of upgrading their facilities and making them more attractive, and all the new stuff you've done has created a much better landscape in general on Beach Mountain. So I think that's. It's great. It's a great to look at. I mean,
it is. There's more investment now than I can ever remember, and I grew up here and been around in a while, and what's happening now is we're basically out of space. So investors and developers, like you said, they're coming into town and they're looking at existing buildings that maybe aren't so nice, and remodeling, tearing them down, redoing them. I mean, that's what happened with this medical office building behind McDonald's. Mm-hmm. It was an old building. It was an old car. An auto body place, an old hair salon, and it was kind of an eyesore. And you're going to have a brand new, beautiful, landscaped building here when this thing is all done. It's going to be very nice, and that's happening up and down Beachmont.
Well, that whole complex where the Wings restaurant is, and the bank, and then that behind there, that building which is a health care building.
Yeah, Tri-Health Medical Office Building.
Office building.
Yep.
That's a great facility, and
yeah, I mean, Dewey's used to be an old, rundown car lot, and used to have an old, and dilapidated Long John Silver's on it, and that's all brand new now. So I mean, it's exciting to watch these things happen, and of course, we're not going to look like downtown Montgomery probably, but it is a huge step from where we were just a couple years ago. Yeah. And if we can just figure out how to bury those power lines, we'll be we'll be incredible.
Good luck on that. Yeah. That costs a few bucks to do.
It does, and that's one of the questions we always get is why can't you bury them? And it's simply just a matter of money.
It's huge. I mean, it's a huge cost. I mean, people don't realize that. We've got a few minutes left, and I thought maybe I might just touch base quickly. I know that in the last, at least the last issue I saw of the Anderson Insight, there was an article in there about the comprehensive plan for 2035, and that was moving along. The committee was formed, and I guess they were going to hire a consultant latter part of last year.
Yeah.
And then hopefully begin to take some public comment and input. What's happening there? Anything?
All of that is happening. We are actually forming a committee now, which will include residents and business owners, and that committee probably is 20 to 25 people who will have valuable input in this plan. But it will also be open to the public. We'll have public, meetings where people can come and look at it and see. Now, we already have a comprehensive plan. This is simply just an update from the 2011 plan. But like I said before, and I've said all along, I'm amazed at the proactive thinking that comes out of this township, and this is part of it. I mean, we now have a plan that when these developers come to town and when these ideas are generated, we can say, great, here's kind of the vision. And it makes the process so much easier. And the one thing that we are going to have as part of this new plan is a focus on institutional sites like the schools and things that weren't part of that before. I mean, I think we finally realized that we can do something with some of this land that the school or that the park have. What else can we do with it?
Well, and I think it says a lot too for you all, which is probably why you're as successful as you are. Two things. One is because you've been operating with a plan, a comprehensive plan that you update and continue to update. And secondly, because I give credit. I mean, I think Anderson just is really, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, the trustees have really exercised probably the best. I mean, when you look at some of these communities that are really struggling and having a tough time, you all have done a tremendous job, and those before you have done a great job of managing the fiscal side of the picture and have made it productive for you all. So.
I agree. I mean, and I'll give credit to Russ because he certainly is deserving of that. And I think we have weathered the storm, and there's definitely a storm, a continuous storm of economics out there for governments. But
big time for governments.
We have weathered it, I think, better than others because of that planning.
Well, you've weathered it well yourself. You're looking pretty good. You haven't aged a whole lot at all since you took office.
I feel like I have. No, it's been great. This is, I mean, the first couple years basically, and it's been overwhelming at times just because of all the stuff that you don't know about. But it's been great, and I'm very much looking forward to this year. I think a lot of things are going to happen this year, and it'll be exciting.
It's a big learning curve. I mean, when you first come into it, but congratulations.
Thank you.
We knew you were going to be good when we first met you. No question about it.
I appreciate it.
We appreciate you being with us today. We look forward to it. I know you'll be back and see us somewhere along the line there, but we'll catch up with you. So but thanks for being here, and wish you the best this year.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we thank you for joining us. We're glad that you took a little time to spend some time with us here today, and that make us part of your day on Trustee Talk. And so we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And on behalf of our illustrious producer and director, Shane Reinert, our one-man show here, we just invite you to come back and join us again each month for a new Trustee Talk here on Anderson Community Television. See you then.